everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joey Evans.
Today we're taking a look at D.E.I, Divide et Impera, which is a futuristic game. This is year 49 after White Death Day. I've been there. Humankind's on its last legs. There's these new evil people, I guess, called the purebreds. That just sounds bad.
Yeah.
And we're a bunch of factions, and we're trying to please these people by accomplishing missions, which mostly is running around and grabbing stuff. So think of this as a game in which you control a gang from the future, picking up supplies, and messing with each other a little bit. But you're mostly just scroungers. It's not. It looks, when you set it up,
like a
looks like a
battle
war game.
Yeah, right.
It's not, sort of. I'll show you.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the game, you're going to pick a setup based on a number of players, and it can be a very specific setup as you put boards together, but it can also be random. There's just some rules about these neutral camps are usually in corners or away from each other. You'll notice that these boards are three-dimensional with multiple layers. They are connected via double-sided stickers, which seem to be holding pretty good. We've had one break off. But you're going to put these boards together in a setup. Now, on these boards, you'll notice there's little dots and triangles. That's showing you where you're going to put the resources. Now, note, I have an upgraded version of the game. So mine are plastic pieces, and some of the pieces in this are miniatures rather than wooden meeples. But the gameplay is functionally identical. So you're going to put these out. You have the much better energy cell tokens, and then technology tokens will be, and they're going to be scattered all around the board. Also, depending on the number of players, there will be different droids that are going to start in certain areas. And then you'll see this A and C here on the board. Those are places where outposts are going to go. And these outposts are in three different colors: red, green, and blue. And they're one of the main ways to get victory points as you're going to try to control those areas. Each player is going to have their faction. So here we have Abraham. You can show this picture, show his special ability. He has the ability, for example, he can get more resources off the board. And you have a miniature that matches your main character who can be on the board. But the rest of your people are just going to be regular troops that you're going to put out on the board. This is where you're going to keep the resources that you gather, because you'll be spending these over the course of the game. And you'll also have three special abilities. When you control those outposts that I showed, whenever you'll take a cube of that color, and whenever you control two of them, you'll be able to flip your special ability of that type. So then you'll have another special ability that you'll be able to use over the course of the game. Now, players are going to be utilizing a handful of cards. And in each round of the game, there's going to be three parts to that round. You are, in each one, going to be playing two cards. And when you play these cards, if you play them face up, you'll be taking the actions on the cards. So this is going to let me recruit somebody, and this is going to let me move. This one lets me gather a resource and move. Recruit two people, move and recruit. Move the droid that's associated with me. Do whatever I want and build something. There are various things you can build on the board. You can build camps, which is where you can recruit new people from. You can build elevators, which will let you move up levels. You can build bridges that connect those upper levels so that you can move from one to the other. And so you're playing these two cards. However, you can also play a card face down if you want to, only once per each of these three times. And when you do that, you're going to be able to go to various markets that are next to the board. These markets, there's different types of markets, are going to have cards that are placed in that market, and you're going to be able to buy those cards. Now, whenever you buy a card, the card that you use to buy it is going to go away. So you're always going to have the same number of cards in your hand. But these cards will have costs in them, and you'll see this from the circles and triangles. They're going to cost the different technological and energy resources, and they're going to give you better things. This one gives you 3 points every time you play it. This one is a recruit of 2, but they're also worth points at the end of the game. But they'll give you not only better special abilities, but more ways to utilize them. And there are different colors. There's also a black market where things are very expensive, but it can give you some of the best cards in the game. And so this is something that you can do, like I said, once every 3 rounds. The game has rules about majorities. If you want to control areas, pull stuff out of areas, or even move into areas, you'll need a majority. So you'll see I have 2 guys here, or the purple guy does. If I want to come into this area, then I'm going to need to bring 3 guys there. And so that's an important thing to get from this level to this level. I'll need to use, here's a neutral elevator I can use on the board. You'll see there's one here too. But also I can build my own elevators to move around. There's also, each drone will have a different thing. Like this one here goes around picking up resources. We have one that just goes around and shoots another player and kills them. But killing other players, removing them from the board, is not as bad as you might think, because whenever you are killed, you'll draw a piece of candy, and what this is an icon that you can basically place on a card for a one-time use in the future, giving you another, icon or a special ability for that card. At the end of each of the rounds of the game, players, and there's going to be 4 of them, players are going to be able to essentially claim victory points. And so I can pick any of these. So this one's like 2 for everything that I've built. I have 4 things built. I'll claim that. But you can only claim 1 per column here. And after, let's say I did this in round 1, I claim this. And in round 2, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back and claim this one, which is going to be giving me 2 points for every red area where I have at least presence. Well, once you wait till that round is over, round 1, 2, 3, and 4, if you come back in a future round, you'll have to take the lower point thing. So you could just always pick the round you're in to take more points, but it also might not work out for you. That is one of the main ways to get points in this game. You're going to get lots of points from taking these cards, which is at the end of a round. After the 4 different rounds or turns as the game goes by, you're going to get other points. Each controlled outpost that you have, which is easy to figure out because you just count the cubes that you have, gives you a point. And then, by the way, this game calls point supplies. The number of special abilities or feats that you have unlocked will give you points. Your extra leftover tokens will give you points. These 2 for 1, and the energies are 1 for 1 point. And then you'll add up all the points on any cards that you've bought and add it to your deck. Whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. One thing, I said at the beginning that this is not a war game, and it really isn't. The cards that you have at the beginning, there's nothing about fighting each other. Except the one faction has access to a drone that can shoot one of your people and take them off the board, although it's very easy to bring people back. And when your guy gets shot, you get candy, which gives you the benefit.
That's the thing you almost want. There are times that shooting a guy actually helped him win the game.
I don't want to talk about that.
Because you get such a huge benefit when your guy's shot.
Well, you still lose the guy who's there.
Right.
But there's not a lot of fighting, and there's cards that can let you fight as time goes by, but it is all about area control. Mm-hmm. It's also really interesting, your main character, the special abilities they have, like the one counts as 3 for area control, which means he walks around and unless your opponent's willing to put 4 guys in an area, which is not that easy to do, he's going to control every area he's in. One person can jump up on those ledges.
And that's big. And they all seem like they're overpowered, but they're not, because if everyone feels almost overpowered, it evens the playing field.
It's also just that one person.
Right. On both sides. A leader does that. Yeah.
So this is not a deck building game, but a hand building game.
Right.
And you want to buy more cards because if nothing else, they're worth points.
Yes.
But it does bring me to my one complaint about the game.
Okay.
I think. We're not sure, but it seems like the card that gives you points when you play it is almost overpowered.
I would remove it.
Because it's worth points at the end of the game. Let's say there's one that gives 3 points every time you play it.
Yeah.
If you buy it in the first round, you're going to be able to use it at least 3 more rounds, which makes that card 12 points, which in this game is a huge amount of points.
Yes.
And you could say that card's not letting you do anything else, but doing other stuff might get you points. Playing this card definitely gives you points. I don't know how it would fix or anything. And again, but everyone I played it with felt the same way.
I agree. It's luck when it comes out, because it comes in towards the end, it's not going to be that bad. It comes in towards the beginning, it's going to be hard to negate, because that's a lot of points in the swing.
And that's really my only complaint about that. All the other cards, the black market cards, do better things, but they also cost more money.
Yep.
You know, you get, when you want these cards because they let you do cool things. Some of the cards have colors on them, which means something specific, and you have a reference card that tells you all that.
Right.
I didn't think the colors were intuitive. Like, red means this. That didn't make any sense, but I'll take it.
No, and movement is very tight. Movement and resources are tight in this game. Because when you see all the resources, you're thinking, okay, it's not going to last. But it is going to last. It takes you a while to get place to place. You have to, build elevators to go up. So movement is tight in this, but it works for the game, I think.
It's actually a very interesting arc because you first get on the board, you're like, resources everywhere.
Right.
Then by the second turn, you're like, holy cow, they're disappearing pretty quickly. But you probably won't get them all. And the game ends before you're like, well, I don't have anything to do.
Yeah.
You're still scrambling for resources. It's like you came in, you're ravaging this part of the city, and you're done. And that's the game. And I don't think the game's awfully long, actually.
It's not. It feels almost too short, which is the way you should want a game to feel. Because you have to pivot several times in that short span, at least I did, when you see these resources go and you're like, well, I'm not going to focus on that anymore. I've got to go this direction, which I love that give and take mechanic, and it does end right before you're where you want to be. And I love the hand building. The hand building is great. I don't know many games that utilize that, but I do like the hand building because it's more of an immediate benefit to you rather than deck building where you're hoping that comes around again before the end of the round.
Overall, I really enjoy the game.
I do too.
There's a few too many symbols, and sometimes, I mean, you have this reference card that tells you what they all do. But then the cards that you place on that for the victory points, you have to look them up and remember what they do. And those aren't as interesting to me as the rest of the game, even though they are a good focal point of how you get points in the game.
Right.
But the game itself is so fun to play, and I love the idea of whenever you get a new card, you're replacing a card. You can always buy a card. You don't need to wait for a specific card because you just flip it over and play it that way.
And that's a hard decision, by the way, when you do hand building, because you're getting rid of cards at the beginning to get more cards in your hand, and later in the game you might be like, I wish I would not have gotten rid of that card. That's a fun, frustrating part of the game, but it really works in this situation.
I try to get one that's similar to the one I'm getting rid of.
That's what I try to.
Maybe, but I'll be like, I don't need more troops on the board. I'll get rid of those cards. Later on, I'm like, wish I had more troops on the board.
Because you kill them all.
Yeah, you do. Or whatever. I just need more in certain areas to move around. So, and the drones are fun too, because the drones aren't restricted by area control. Right. You can fly them all over the place, and they each have a very distinctive thing. And you each control one at the beginning in your deck, but then their drone cards are shuffled into the different markets, and they'll show up, and I can have a drone, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Like I played and I was able to control all the drones, but at the expense of not really controlling my army.
Right.
Because I'm giving up that.
Yeah, I only controlled my drone the entire time, but they're not by faction. I really wish I would have, because there are some drones just pull the resources in, and I was just mainly killing people.
What would you give the game?
I would give it an 8. I do like it. I like it a lot. The negatives, the ones I mentioned, I think the movement is really tighter than I'd like, but I do enjoy it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It's not a war game. It's not a battle game, but I like it a lot, and I can see a lot of people enjoying it because of the resource, because of the fact that it's not that cutthroat. So I'd come in right at an 8 for it.
I'm also an 8. It's very fun. It's very enjoyable. The things I'm knocking it for, like I think there's a lot of symbols and some very odd choices they made. Like, for example, on the cards, the cost of them is circles and triangles. And the upgraded plastic pieces we have, one of them is a square and one of them's a circle. And it's odd. If all they do is make those symbols the color,
right,
yellow, purple, that would have helped a lot. But man, that 3D board is also cool. It's not needed. They could have just drawn lines, but it works really well. And the theme comes through. It really does.
It really does.
And it's not too harsh, but there's definitely interactiveness. You're definitely fighting for area control. You're fighting everybody. So I don't know. It's just a lot of fun.
And it's fun because it does some heavy topics, but it does it tongue in cheek, because you kill someone and you get candy. It's just things like that I like they throw in there.
Yeah, so definitely one to check out. D.E.I. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joey Evans.
And you've been watching The Dice Tower
with Candy.